your eminence, you're emitting light, okay? Illumination. So life is perfect, and God is all being. We always say God is in everyone. God is everywhere. God is in all being, including this old man. And finally, if you can see that he's a perfect and beautiful bum. As a bum, he's a perfect bum. He's a beautiful bum. You can see that that's a level of enlightenment. It is 700 to 1,000. Emotionally, you are unaffected by any external stimulus anymore. It's not that you're dead, you're just no longer affected emotionally, because you can see that he's perfect. Okay. So the process is pure consciousness. Life simply is, and that person, the God's view is self. He will turn inside himself to look for and to validate God. So, you know, we've gone through this very useful chart. It documents, it describes to us the various level of consciousness. It tells us which is the cutoff. It gives us a dire warning. If we associate ourselves with any of this level of consciousness, we're not really living a very happy life. It also set out a path of what step-by-step progression we should do in spirituality. Suppose I found myself that I react with this statement, so I now recognize I'm at this kind of consciousness level. I then now know I must walk towards the next step. There's no point if I'm here, try to go here, or right away go to enlightenment. I must go to the next step, because it requires my life force, my energy to register at a higher energy level. Okay. In other words, if I know I'm in grade school, then I must take the next grade before I go to university. There's no point for me to, if I'm in grade 3, now start going to university and learn all the university curriculum. Okay, it's just futile. So it gives us all this useful guidance. And it's also like a mirror to ourselves. We don't need anybody to tell us, you know what, you are, the way you think is terrible, it's not spiritual, it's not godly. You know, we are all adults. We don't want to hear that. But this is the mirror. Okay, we look at it and, oh, okay, I got dirt here on my face. So you can see all this on the mirror. So this is the mirror to our consciousness, to our spirit. So that's how it is useful. Now, you may question, how is this derived, this law, this quantification? Where did we get all this number from? Okay. Oh, before we go there, before I answer that, let's take some, on top of what I've just described, the usefulness of that mirror. These are some of the take-home messages from this exercise on the old bum. Sorry, before that, let's look at what the bum's reaction to you then. Okay, as you approach the bum with one of the 14 options, how would the bum react to you? Right? Well, when approached, the bum's response to these different levels of consciousness would vary accordingly. The bum would actually react according to your level of consciousness. So, with some, he would feel secure. With others, he will feel frightened or dejected. Right? If you go at him with aggression, of course he will be frightened. If you go with him at a higher energy level, he will feel secure. If you bring him a cup of coffee, so the bum's reaction to us is entirely dependent on our reaction to him in the first place. It's all consciousness level. Some would make him angry, others would delight him. Right? The low energy people will make him angry, the high energy people will delight him. Some he would avoid, others he would will greet with pleasure. So, we meet what we mirror. Okay. We react to things in a fashion predicted by the level that we perceive them from. Okay. So, we all now today recognize our own consciousness level based on our association with one of the 14 possible reactions. In other words, we see what we want to visualize. There are 14 different ways to look at the bump. We see it. But the interesting thing is, if we're at level 7, chances are you understand level 1 to 6. You might not understand why people think level 8 to level 14, okay? So again, it's easy to understand and capture the information at energy level lower than ourselves. But it's very, very difficult to try to comprehend energy level higher than ourselves. That's why it's only useful to go one step at a time at that energy level scale. Our external world is the mirror reflection of our inner world. Our inner world is our consciousness level. And here, the last statement, the observer and the observed, like we and the bump, is one. We together make a phenomenon happen. All is relative to the energy level of the observer, how we observe. Okay. How we observe influence the observed, influence the bump. See, the bump react entirely depending on how we react first. So, the observed is influenced by the observer. Now, read this statement carefully. The observer influenced the observed. This is the language of quantum mechanics. Okay? A reality of the quantum world. Okay. Beautiful. So don't think that, theoretical physics has nothing to do with real life. The bump and the quantum world have the same reality. And it's all a question of energy. Okay? The macro world and the micro world are all energy. Different levels of energy. So finally, to ask the question, how was this quantification possible? It's quantified by kinesiology. And kinesiology is the science of human movement from the Greek word kinesis. It's also known as human kinetics in some university faculties. What it is a muscle response to a stimulus. And the muscle goes strong to a good stimulus and goes weak to bad things. This stimulus can be an image, a name, a chemical, a drug, anything, a story, a song, a true or a lie. The muscle will just react to this stimulus. And the person who's being tested need no prior knowledge of the stimulus. Okay. So you can go to an ancient tribe who has no knowledge of sweetener. You hold up a bag of sweetener and his muscle will go weak on you. Okay. So it's that kind of test. That's how this is quantified. And of course, it's not the object of this lecture to go into this science, but it's all described by this book, Power versus Force, the hidden determinant of human behavior, by David Hawkins, who is an MD, PhD, and one of the world's best-known psychiatrists. He have so many psychiatric patients that he successfully treated that the hospital had to build him a new wing just to accommodate his patients. So it's all described in this book. Okay? Credibility. Okay? He is a man who is a scientist, who is a doctor, who is a psychiatrist, who is rich enough, who don't have to make an extra couple of dollars publishing an absurd book. He write and publish this book because he's trying to convey a fundamentally, a message very important to the human consciousness. So that material was derived from this book. So today's lecture agenda, I've switched it around a bit to suit the audience. So we've completed lecture 4, Consciousness Quantified. I have recapped the lessons learned from previous lectures. So what is left today is I need to describe the metaphysics curriculum and finish the last lecture on spiritualism. Okay. And then that will be the end of today's lecture. Let me just check my time. Okay, so we have 15 minutes. I probably have to go a little fast. So the metaphysics curriculum, why am I third semester here? Okay, never mind. So first of all, to construct the metaphysics curriculum, I look at the definition. The definition of metaphysics is the branch of philosophy concerned with the study of the nature of being and beings, existence, time, space, and cosmology.